Out hockey player Smith fits right into the Flyers' style, which channels Stan Fischler's attention.
Derek Smith has been a Flyer since 1984, but you'd never know it by the headline. On a team loaded with stars like Tim Kerr, Ron Hextall, and Rick Tocchet, Smith does his job with little fuss or fanfare.
I'm not really, I like to get in there and forecheck and stuff, but, you know, as soon as we turn the puck over, you know, I'm trying to get back as quick as possible and, you know, just worry about them, not so much about us scoring.
He's played well all season for us. He's the kind of guy that you know what you're going to get from him. He's going to work extremely hard and be a tremendous forechecker.
Those who play alongside the 24-year-old Smith appreciate his subtle qualities, but they also kid him about his shot. They say he couldn't break a pane of glass with this puck.
Smitty's goals don't generally reach the back of the net, and that's and actually that's been a trend through the year. And whether hard work is a definition of that, I don't know. But amazingly, for a big, strong guy, a lot of them don't get to the back of the net.
A lot of them are, you know, shots from in close, and it'll hit the goalie and just bounce in. I don't care how they go in, just as long as they go in.
Stan Fischler, Sports Channel.
Hockey, great skating. Reaction. Watch NHL hockey.
Yeah, we've got a situation now facing the Philadelphia Flyers here at the Montreal Forum that's not all that pretty. A lot of people are already on the limp, and now Brian Propp is felled by that elbow from Chris Chelios. As he fell, he cracked his head hard enough on the ice to cut it. So the injury list is now lengthened. Brian Propp was, at last word that we got, Mike, was diagnosed as having a severe concussion. You don't come back in 48 hours from a severe concussion. Third leading scorer in the playoffs in the National Hockey League, behind only Tim Kerr and Wayne Gretzky. So how do you replace a guy like Brian Propp? You don't.
You don't. He was having a wonderful playoff, too. Part of the reason that the Flyers got by Washington and also got by Pittsburgh can be placed right on the doorstep of the rather quiet, unassuming number 26, Brian Propp. Canadiens outshot the Flyers in the second period 11-3, and after the Flyers had one more face-offs than Montreal, 15-4 in the first period. The totals in the second were the Canadiens with a slight edge, 11-10. Well, it comes down to another 20 minutes. And when the period begins, Montreal will have the power play. Still 1 minute and 21 seconds left on the holding wrap to Rick Tocchet.
You know, sometimes I think teams that have enough doses of adversity start to thrive on it. The Flyers weren't supposed to even come close to the Washington Caps. This was the year the Washington Capitals were going to wipe the ice with the Flyers. So the Flyers simply won that one in 6. People started to end up injured in that series, and Ron Hextall not in the lineup tonight. There is Ken Reagan, who is starting his second straight game after that brilliant performance in Pittsburgh, starting obviously here again tonight. But I think the Flyers are a team now, Mike, and we've brought this point up in the playoffs. They face adversity pretty well, even in the form of losing a game and coming back strong the next. I think it translates into situations like this. They lose Brian Propp. Somehow it motivates them.
Game 5, they lost 10-7, in which they were out of the game by the latter part of the first and fought their way back to at least some sort of a close score. But the last 7 periods, from the third period of that decisive defeat on, they were just superb against the Penguins, and they've been that way in the first 2 of this opener tonight. Samuelsson had that one pumped away by Svoboda. Richer tries to get behind. Dave Poulin right on him. Richer pivots, has Courtnall in the slot. Centered one off of Samuelsson and forced wide by Sutter. And it is Howe sending it back down, and Reagan wisely pulled back there, seeing that one coming across and noting that Howe was right nearby.
Well, we've seen people put them in their own nets before. We even saw it the other night when Rod Busquets did it in Philadelphia in Game 6. That time Ron Sutter had it on his blade, but he didn't rush it. He took his time and dumped it wide, but he was standing there with the open net in front of him, his own open net.
Half a minute to go on the power play. Chelios able to shake that one past Samuelson. Howe goes back and Courtnall on him. Howe hurries it around. Peter Svoboda able to keep it. The screen sets. Svoboda to Chelios. A shot, and that hit the skate of Samuelson. And it's poked away from Richer by Howe. Ron Sutter scales it back down. 15 seconds to go on the man advantage. Puck given up to Derek Smith, and he'll want to play some keep away. Right back in his own zone to Chikrin. Naslund, the forechecker. That one hit off the skate of Keane, brought ahead by Smith. Smith with a drive. Oh, and that hard drive was off of Roy. Now then Svoboda. Hands back onto Keane. Over to Bobby Smith. Can't get by Chikrin. And it's an offside call, and then Chikrin puts the body solidly into Mats Naslund, and a crowd gathers. Clock stopped with 18:29 to go in the third. 1-0 Flyers.
Holmgren of the Flyers on the left, Pat Burns of the Canadiens on the right. Paul Holmgren had never been a head coach before this year. Pat Burns, only 5 years of a head coach under his belt. 1 year a pro, that was the American League last year, and 4 years of junior before that. He worked for Wayne Gretzky, indirectly. Wayne Gretzky owned the Hull team, and that's who Burns coached in the Quebec Junior League.
An on-ice cop when he played in Holmgren, and an off-ice policeman in Pat Burns.
2 cops, one that carried a badge and one that carried a stick.
Here is Murphy. Hands it back to Jay Wells. Connects with Tocchet, and Tocchet just lofts one as Roy directs some traffic with his glove. It is Robinson laying it back to Desjardins. That one knocked down by Sutter, but scooped up by Bobby Smith.
Well, I haven't seen Desjardins play much at all tonight, Mike, but on Derek Smith's big blast before we took a break, that was Desjardins that backed in, so he really committed first. That time he coughed it up in his zone. He's a rookie playing in his first playoffs.
Keane drops one back along. Bobby Smith is there. Pass out in front, knocked away. Rebound. Oh, and it went behind Reggett and must have glanced off the post. We'll look with interest at a replay of that later on as Jay Wells keeps the play alive for the Flyers, turning it back in. Sinisalo there, stepped into by Desjardins. Tocchet picks it up, gets it back onto Sutter. Stood up to the corner by Bobby Smith. Sutter and Smith at the wall. Tocchet couldn't take it away. Sutter has his stick held. Desjardins rolls. Sutter can't play while falling. Bobby Smith brings it back up with those long strides for the Canadiens. Smith gliding over near Sinisalo. Deals it for Keane, who's checked off by Tocchet. Naslund moving in. Mats Naslund peels off, tried to center, and Jay Wells said no. Along now it is Tocchet. Left it behind, but will now control. 17 minutes, 10 seconds to go, third period. Turning is Derek Smith. Shook it through Skrudland, but it's Chelios back to get it. 20 shots Montreal, 17 shots for the Flyers. 1-0 Philadelphia ahead on a mid-first period shorthanded goal by Derek Smith. Robinson checked by Smith. Puck thrown by McPhee. Flops over off Karkner. Sent out to Gilchrist, and a shot went off Reggett. It is Robinson keeping. Feeds for Gilchrist. Poked away, and here's a 2-on-1. Dave Poulin bringing it up with Smith. Dropping back on defense, Chelios. A shot is tipped to the seats as Chris Chelios got back to break it up. 16:34 to go in the third. Thanks to Chelios, still 1-0 Flyers. There stands Ken Reggett. Has faced 20 and has gotten 20.
Here's that one that went behind him. Boy, I don't know. It didn't look like it didn't hit the far post.
No.
And it couldn't have, if it hit the near post, it didn't look like it was coming out at the right angle. But the rebound went right back to Smith. That's why he had a second shot at it.
Evidence inconclusive. As Skrudland, helmet to helmet near Tim Kerr. Whatever malady Poulin had, and it might have been equipment in the second period, he has not really missed since he's come back, though he's not out there right now. Tim Kerr has Secord and Pelle Eklund. We didn't get any word on that from the Flyers, but we did on Brian Propp. That's a concussion for those of you just joining us. Puck dumped back in now. Ken Reggett clips one off. Kerr able to reflex one back to Eklund, and then Kerr tried to steer back up to Secord. It is Ludwig back, and Secord right on him. Around it goes to Chelios, and Kerr nearby. Centered one off of McPhee, and it's flipped back along by Ludwig. Kept alive by Eklund. To the corner for Kerr. Has Secord moving to the front. Can't get it to him. Good check that time by Chelios, and back up ice brings it in the person of Chris Chelios with a pass on the wing for Skrudland, and offside is called.
You know, the Flyers defense stand up well enough when they're on top of their game to really force Montreal to make good decisions at their blue line. I've only mentioned how the Flyers have to make good decisions at Montreal's line. That time Chelios skated right up until he was close enough to Samuelson's stick to make the pass too close to his stick. Samuelson nudged the puck, and that's what created the offside. But the Canadiens really haven't, I don't think, exercised great judgment tonight in their play selection at the Flyers' blue line. They haven't dumped and had first-man pressure often at all.
I'm glad you pointed out that Chelios brought it up. There was some indecisiveness. For a moment, I had the puck bringing Chelios up the ice, I believe. All right, here's Murphy for the Flyers. Moving it in front, off the wall for Mellanby, but it is Svoboda. I guess technically, in a way, he might have been. The puck might have, well, at least attracted him. Okay, here comes Gainey. Trying to flip one through Jay Wells and does. Reggett comes out to get it, spins it along, and it was knocked down by Walter, brought back up by Poulin, but that turned aside by Carbonneau. And Guy Carbonneau took a shoulder from Smith, but got back. Now Poulin goes down, and here's Gainey, scooping one for Carbonneau. But he didn't see it coming, and it's Murphy brushing it back out. Now Derek Smith couldn't get it away from Green. This time he does. Then for Poulin, but anticipating Green, Poulin lets up for a shift change that's coming, and Rick Green can start to move back out unmolested. 15 minutes to go in the third period. Flyers have led since 13:45 gone of the first on an unassisted shorthanded goal by Derek Smith. That's it, the only goal in the game. Terry Karkner's bringing it back up ice for the Flyers. Corson right on him, puts the blade right up near his face as Karkner tries to move in, and he gets hung up in the skates of the linesman Bob Hodges. No matter, offside is called.
Boy, that was a real good look at Montreal's neutral zone pressure. They just backed up and let Terry Karkner come right at them. And what they try to do very often is cut the ice surface in half by making sure they have people in the middle lane, right down the middle of the ice. That keeps the play on one side of the ice, and they can force it a lot easier. So guys like Ron Sutter, the guy you're looking at, they have to be aware of Montreal cutting the ice in half down the length. And when they end up channeled to one side, they got to have support. If Ron Sutter sees a guy get channeled over there with the puck, he has to get over there to give him support. They just have to simply have a number of guys in that zone sort of overload that side that they get channeled into.
And it's worked pretty well so far tonight, hasn't it?
It's worked pretty well. The Flyers have read them well, and they've dumped in when they've had to.
Sutter a drive, and a stick save made that time by Patrick Roy. Puck behind, off of Tocchet. He and Robinson go down. Sinisalo centered, and Roy scooped that one aside. Now Robinson brings it back up ice. That's only the 5th Flyer shot on goal in the last 25 minutes of play. 2018 Canadiens in the shot department on the game. Flyers ahead 1-0 as Roy sets this up for Desjardins. Then he handcuffed Robinson, and Tocchet gives him a brush from behind. Puck scooped along to Desjardins, then outletted to Corson. Has Courtnall up the wing and wants to get it to him. Courtnall after it. Checked by Tocchet, but he recovered and scooped one wide. Now Corson out front. Oh, and a shot by Richer. Didn't get home. Centering pass, and Corson was tied up. Now it's Sinisalo as the Canadiens came close again. Desjardins back, and Rick Tocchet pivoting after him. Breaks that with a pass to Courtnall, who nearly bumped with Robinson, but he didn't lose it. Ahead now with Corson. A pass over to Richer. Richer pivots, draws Eklund, flips one that goes by the reach of Reggett. Couple of players down in the far corner as the puck brought back up now by Pelle Eklund. Has Kerr the trailer. Gives to Kerr. Right back to Eklund again. Turns behind the net. Lays a pass back for Jeff Chychrun, who's able to keep it in. One timing it around for Kerr. Kerr tried to center. Nothing but red, white, and blue at the front of the goal, and back up with it comes Chelios. 13 minutes to go in the third period. 1-0 in favor of the Flyers. Naslund keeps to Chelios in the slot, and the shot pulled wide. Mike Bullard has trouble. Muscled off by Keane. We have a penalty coming up on the play.
I think they're coincidentals. Yep, that's what Kerry Fraser's calling. Mike Bullard will go. Mike Keane will go. That won't change the manpower advantage.
Let's pause for a regional break. You're watching the NHL on Sports Channel. Bullard and Keane will both go off because of this. Jeff Chychrun was the freight trainer at the end. And this is a great Montreal chance. Reggett got a piece of that one, causing it to go wide. Ken Reggett has just been outstanding in goal tonight for the Flyers. Roy not nearly tested so severely as his counterpart at the other end. Mellenby's high shot just blocked down, and now Mellenby able to move it back along. Scott Mellenby tried to chip one in front. Poulin is there, has Derek Smith, but can't get away from Chelios. Now Smith moves in. Diving play, and a good one made by Ludwig to block it away. Ludwig turns, back up ice, Courtnall, and he had Bobby Smith, but he couldn't get it through Mark Howe. Courtnall drops all the way back to get ahead of steam up, able to turn away from Mellenby with the help of a pass from Naslund, and then Courtnall wipes out. It is Samuelsson off of Derek Smith, left behind by Poulin and Naslund. 3-on-2, moving in with Smith breaking. Naslund with a shot that was high off of Reggett and drilled back down by Derek Smith. There'll be an icing call as Svoboda goes back to touch up, and the clock is stopped with 11:54 to go in the third. It is still 1-0 Philadelphia.
Boy, Courtnall had about 3 Flyers with the same idea. Approach him in the neutral zone. One was Mellenby, one was Karkner. He ended up only losing his balance, not his life. Watch this. Right, well, that's Smith that goes by him. It was Karkner first and then Derek Smith. Nobody could get a handle on him. The Canadiens really have 3 speedsters on 3 different lines. They have Naslund on one line. They got this guy, Russ Courtnall, on another one, and they got Richer on a third one. That makes it tough for Paul Holmgren to match. If he had his choice, he would have Mark Howe and Kjell Samuelsson out there against the guys that have the most speed on the other team. But Montreal's got a real balanced group of guys. Their lines are well balanced. They've got 1 good checker on each line and 1 good skater on each line.
Boy, their scoring's balanced really well, too. Skrudland with Gilchrist, McPhee, Green and back along with Peter Svoboda. Sutter to take the draw opposite Brian Skrudland. McPhee was preoccupied with one of the Flyers, and so Kerry Fraser comes in and issues the customary warning, and Skrudland is ready to go with Sutter again. Kevin Collins, the linesman from Springfield, to drop it, and it comes back over to Gilchrist. Gilchrist with a pass to Peter Svoboda, had trouble controlling. Then flipped one, and Reggett was able to handle that one as Karkner behind him, preoccupied with Skrudland. Now Tocchet ahead to Dave Poulin. Poulin pulls away, rolls it back deep, and Svoboda back to get it. As the clock has ticked down to 11.5 minutes. Puck given up to Sinisalo, and a shot blocked down by Roy. Trying to get to it is Sutter. Shoulders with Gilchrist. The puck loose, and Sinisalo flips one off the back of the goal. Now Sutter pivots loose. Tries to flip one in front. It's off Roy. He traps and holds to the side of the net. And the score here at the Montreal Forum stays. The Flyers 1, the Canadiens 0. Let's pause for this regional break. You're watching the NHL on Sports Channel. Well, Tim Kerr will take this important face-off with Guy Carbonneau. Secord on Kerr's right as the puck dropped unfairly, and Eklund on the left. Murphy and Wells the defense. Carbonneau with Gainey and Ryan Walter. Larry Robinson has moved up near Secord for the face-off, and the rookie Eric Desjardins joining the longtime veteran Larry Robinson. Only 7 shots through the first 8.5 minutes. That's total. Flyers 4, Canadiens 3 in this period. Here is Desjardins moving it ahead, has Walter headed to the net. Shot blocked down by Jay Wells. Flipped back along, and it skipped over toward Robinson. Now Secord swoops toward him, so the pass is released onto the turning stick of Bob Gainey. Gainey able to force it back. Reggett is there to stop. Tried to set it up for Murphy, and the Canadiens swarm in. It is Gainey not seeing it at first. Jay Wells ties up with him, and Murphy contends with Walter. Stepping by the 5th man to pick it loose, that's Pelle Eklund, but the pass is read by Robinson, then poked away by Kerr. Along for Secord, but stolen by Carbonneau. And Murphy follows up for the Flyers. Gord Murphy eyed up by Gainey, drops one back deep, and the Canadiens have to turn as Larry Robinson cuts it off.
See, this is the time of game, Mike, when the Flyers have to put everything that comes across center in deep. That time it didn't get in deep quickly enough. Montreal came out with it. They're guilty of an icing here, so the Flyers get a bit of a break. But with a 1-0 lead, 10 minutes to go in the third period, you know you have to get everything in deep when you cross center. One turnover will turn into a counterattack, and that's something Montreal does better than anybody in hockey. They practice it all the time. We watched their morning skate today. All of their drills are geared to breaking up the play at their own blue line and heading it back the other way.
Canadiens a very patient team, and they're used to low-scoring games. They're also used to winning them.
Well, Bill Barber is here. Ex-Flyer great. We've had a chance to talk about what this series is going to be all about. And Billy Barber maintained he's watched Montreal quite a bit, scouted them in the Boston series. He said the team that's the most patient is going to win this series. And that means just not taking chances and giving up any breakdowns, committing breakdowns, and giving up big turnovers and big offensive chances like 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s.
We've only had one set of penalties in the period, Bullard and Keane coincidentals. At about 3 minutes of playing time ago. 10 minors apiece on the night. Poulin is ready with Ryan Walter. Smith and Mellanby, Chychrun and Karkner. Those are the 5 Flyers. Canadiens make a change. They have Ludwig and Chelios. The defense is it's back to Chychrun. A shot, and that blocked away by Walter. Ryan Walter over, and Poulin right on him. Ludwig able to force it away. Chychrun with a flick to direct it back to Poulin. Locked up with Walter. Mellanby a shot, and that one snapped out of the air by Roy. Looked as though it might have been headed wide. Now it's Chelios advancing it on to Ryan Walter. A little tap ahead for Russ Courtnall. Eyed up by Karkner, and Courtnall is bumped off by Derek Smith as Karkner took over. Fresh from the bench, it is Richer. Banking one that is read by Karkner and carried on. Hands on the wing to Scott Mellanby. He hammers one. Oh, and it went off the post. Now it's Poulin keeping it. Flipping one that's deflected away. Chelios shoulders with Poulin, and Chelios artfully able to take it away. Gave it up to Smith, who put a shot on goal. Oh, and it's Ludwig turning it into Mellanby. Puck loose to Derek Smith. Feathers to Mellanby. Curls back behind the net. Out in front, Mellanby a shot. That one blocked away. And it is Courtnall for the Canadiens off of Chelios. Brought back on by Richer. Richer can't shake by Chychrun. Chychrun paws him off, and it's Mellanby there. Has it knocked away by Chelios. Now it's Karkner. Rolling it, but waiting for it is Courtnall. Flicked one on the backhand that is cut off by Karkner. Little yank through the legs along to Chychrun, but it's cut off again by Courtnall. Courtnall able to stagger by Chychrun. Tries to work to the front, forced down. Chelios had it knocked away. He goes down on the lean of Sutter. There'll be a penalty coming up to the Flyers. And the Canadiens will have a power play with 8 minutes and 55 seconds to go in the third.
Boy, if anybody was going to take that penalty, Mike, I thought it might be Scott Mellanby. He was a tired guy out there. Couldn't get to the bench for a change, but it turns out that it's Ron Sutter, so Montreal will have a power play.
Fifth power play of the game for the Canadiens. They'll go with Keane, Smith, and Naslund up front. Robinson and Desjardins in back. Sutter a hook at 11:05. The penalty killers will be Ilka Sinisalo and Dave Poulin. Poulin to draw with Smith. Samuelson and Howe, the defenseman. Off this tie-up, it is Shell Samuelson to get it. Spins it back off for Sinisalo. Can't foist it too far, but it's out enough for Robinson to have to play and then lose to Poulin. Then to Sinisalo. Moving around in front. Oh, they score! Looked as though Roy had it, and it trickled by. And the Flyers with another shorthanded goal. 2-0.
What a play by Ilka Sinisalo. What a pass from Dave Poulin. We got to keep in mind that Ilka Sinisalo has been pressed into penalty killing duties because Brian Propp is not here. Brian Propp was hurt earlier in the game. That pass was just about cut at the blue line, but it had enough steam to get to Sinisalo, and that little shot had just enough steam to trickle right between Patrick Roy's legs. Watch it come through. There it is. Yes, it's across the line. 2 shorthanded goals, a 2-0 lead.
And Dave Poulin is able to clear. Still a minute 35 to go on the Montreal power play. Larry Robinson lays it off, and Smith has to slow to take it. Smith passes across to Desjardins. Hammers one off the boards, and it skips behind. Along to get it is Mats Naslund. Has to contend with Howe, but peels away, and Howe right back after him. Keane a shot knocked down by Samuelson, and dealt right back to Desjardins. A drive, and it's snared by Reagan, and he hangs on.
Well, Kenny Reagan is showing us every tool he's got to stop pucks with tonight. He has made outstanding leg saves, toe saves, and now a big glove save, and it was a screenshot too. Eric Desjardins had it all teed up. There's the guy that has scored goal number 2 in this game. Ilka Sinisalo only played 13 games in the regular season. Was absolutely banged up most of the year. The last injury kept him out for half a season. It was his broken arm. Sinisalo now, in his 3rd playoff game coming into tonight, he hasn't lost one yet in the playoffs. You know that? 2 wins, the last 2 against the Penguins.
Flyers will take any kind of good luck omen they can have, as injury riddled as they've become. Puck comes back now to Chelios. Chelios a drive. Oh, and getting a piece of that was Reggett, and it went through the crease wide. Swoboda back onto Courtnall. Fires, slowed by Reggett. Rebound, Corson, score!
Kenny Reggett couldn't do much about this one. The big blast from Courtnall. There's Corson trying to hit it out of midair. He missed it, but when it dropped, he got it. Derek Smith argued that the net had been pushed off its moorings before the puck went in. Let's see. Tough call. I don't think so. That puck went in, and Mark Howe, with his momentum and trying to stop it, bounced it off its pegs. So it's all special teams tonight. Shane Corson scores power play goal. Makes it 2-1 now, Flyers.
Courtnall gets an assist on Corson's 2nd of the playoff, 1st of the series, and that one coming at 12:06. So our dramatic first game tightens the screws a little more. Flyers had a 2-goal lead. Now it has been cut in half. Fans here, 17,024 strong, are chanting, "Go, Habs, go." Puck swirled around off McPhee. Brought back up by Sutter, who's hit hard by Swoboda. Ahead comes Tocchet on the wing. Sinisalo tried to flip to Tocchet, and that one cut off by Chelios. Right back up, bringing it is Grudlin. Watched by Karkner. The puck kicked back over to Sinisalo. He's got Tocchet breaking, hands over to Sutter. Ron Sutter deliberately brings it back and floats one that is casually just snapped up by Roy and dealt back over to Richer. 7:05 left in the 3rd as Richer had that one forced away from behind by Sutter. Howe connects with Tocchet up the wing now to Secord. Al Secord has Sutter breaking, but is forced off and then given a second shot to the corner by Swoboda. Trying to stagger free as Secord. Centered one. Tocchet scores! Rick Tocchet has the 2-goal lead back. Yeah. Al Secord is another guy that is being pressed into duty because of the guys that are injured, because of Keith Acton's injury, because Brian Propp has left this game, and Al Secord makes the biggest play of his career in a Flyers uniform right there. Patrick Roy let that puck come right up by his stick. Roy could have helped himself, but he didn't. And Rick Tocchet stashes. Sharp angle shot. Watch, coming right at us. Patrick Roy has been shaky all night long. That time he could have helped himself, and he didn't. And there you see a happy goal scorer. Rick Tocchet has made this a 3-1 hockey game with less than 7 minutes to go. Canadiens are forced into getting 2 in the time that remains, and that's 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Ahead with this now comes Bobby Smith, able to get away from the lean of Secord. Tries to connect with Naslund and does. Watched by Jay Wells in the centering pass, and Secord was swooping around Smith. Now Robinson in deep. Robinson taps one, and Naslund steps to get it. Swung one that ricocheted off of Smith on the outside of the goal. Keane checked to the boards by Murphy. Secord comes in and levels a check. And now Murphy tried to connect with Eklund but couldn't. Robinson goes back as the clock ticks down to 6:10. Flyers out shooting the Canadiens 25-23. Eklund shakes one back, and Robinson had to hurry and handcuff Green. Green can recover. Kerr comes to the bench, is replaced by Scott Mellenby. Pass right onto the stick of Gord Murphy. Taken down by Naslund, and Mats Naslund will get a penalty with 5:55 to go in the 3rd. The Flyers congratulate Gord Murphy for drawing that penalty to Naslund. Power play in a moment.
The 1980.
Mats Naslund has deepened the Montreal hole. They find themselves in one here. They're down by 2 to the Flyers. Gord Murphy, a lot of poise. That puck came to him. He made a nice move by Naslund. Nice enough that Naslund put his arm around him to pull him down, but Pat Burns is looking down the barrel of a long gun right now. He's got 5:55 to get his team back in this, and the first thing he's got to do is try and kill off 2 minutes.
A lot of positive memories in this arena for the Flyers. Since the start of the playoffs in '87, the series against the Canadiens, they have lost only one of the last 6 games here. Ironically, the Canadiens have lost only one of the last 6 games since the start of that playoff series at the Spectrum. Here is Chelios pivoting with 5 minutes, 30 seconds to go in the third period. Canadiens have killed off nearly the first half minute of this Flyers power play as Murphy steps ahead. Sent one that went off of Walter. Pivoting to take it is Ludwig. Ludwig sails one that went off Kerr. Picked up by Guy Carbonneau with Howe back. Carbonneau fires, and that went off Howe and came back out to Reget, who had to scoop it away. Then Howe chased off, and Carbonneau goes down. Eklund rolling it back to Mark Howe. Right on him, and giving him a hit was McPhee, but not until Howe had released to Murphy, who connects back up ice with Eklund. Eklund stepping ahead has Tocchet alongside. Eklund drops it back to Murphy. Then to Eklund once more. Kerr has moved to the front of the net. Eklund still holding, decides to go to Murphy. Murphy once more to Eklund. At the front now is Tocchet. A shot went across the goal mouth wide. And Karkner steps back to get it with 45 seconds to go on this Flyers power play. Karkner checked right off, and a chance for Chelios to bring it ahead. Tocchet right on him. Chelios tries to shake by, gets by, centered one that comes all the way back to Ludwig. Ludwig fires, kicked away, rebound, oh, and it's blocked off by Reget as Skrudland seemed to have him, and Reget hangs on.
Boy, oh boy, how did that not go in? Brian Skrudland had the wide open net. The Flyers were guilty of a little nonchalanting when they got that puck. Terry Karkner had it just inside his own blue line. You know, sometimes you get a little overconfident when you have a power play going, but you shouldn't be overconfident when you're playing in the Montreal Forum, a building where these guys have not lost now in 10 straight. What a Skrudland hit here, Mike. I didn't even see it. Reget got another piece of it, didn't he? He made the stop. The Montreal Canadiens, one loss in the last 16 games of the Forum. The last loss came March 13th to the New York Islanders. Boy, Kenny Reget, one of the things that's been so impressive about him that we didn't see when he played during the regular season for the Flyers is how he can make the first save and maintain his balance and get square to the shot, be in position for the second shot. And it doesn't matter whether he has to move laterally all the way across the net or just a few feet. He doesn't leave his feet very easily. We saw in that Pittsburgh series that standing up is a pretty big advantage. Tom Barrasso goes down a lot. Ken Reget stands up a lot.
Off this face-off, puck picked up by Scott Mellenby. Mellenby eyed up by Svoboda, winds it around, and Roy couldn't stop it. It's Kerr throwing one across for Mike Bullard. Still 18 seconds to go on that minor penalty to Naslund. Samuelsson a shot, and that one tipped away by Roy. Gainey scoops it back up now to Guy Carbonneau. Carbonneau stepping on Samuelsson, but can't get it by as Samuelsson was all over him. And the puck winds up underneath the fallen Guy Carbonneau, and we get a stoppage of play. 3 minutes, 59 seconds to go, third period. In the playoffs, Reget has faced 75 shots and has stopped 73. Now let's go back to our studios at Sports Channel.
Thanks, Mike. Coming up after the game on Sports Nightly, stay tuned for a preview of tomorrow night's Campbell Conference Series opener. We'll also hear from Terry O'Reilly, who resigned as Boston Bruins coach today. In other news, P.J. Carlesimo stays at Seton Hall. Al Davis thinking about moving his Raiders again. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are concerned about an NBA playoff series at Chicago. Darrell Burnett will have the rest of the day in sports following the Stanley Cup report after the game on Sports Nightly. Let's go back to the Howard Forum in Montreal.
Just back to action. The last seconds have gone off the penalty to Mats Naslund. Fresh from the box. He tries to bring it ahead. Run off by Sutter. Tocchet brings it back for the Flyers. And Rick Tocchet spins it back in.
It's exactly what the Flyers have to do. Tocchet bogged down at center. As soon as he got the puck back, he just dumped it in deep.
Bob Gainey brings it back for the Canadiens. Sent one off Carbonneau. That one knocked down by Murphy. Followed up by Svoboda. Chipped back down by Ron Sutter. 3.5 to go in the third period. It is Rick Green to get it for the Canadiens. Tocchet drifting by, but they start to draw back. Tocchet able to get this one on the check of Ron Sutter. Got it back to Sutter, forced off by the checking of Carbonneau. Now it is Green, and the Canadiens looking a little flustered back in their own end. The Tocchet-Sutter combination with their forechecking was working, but now on comes Mats Naslund. Fakes the drive, tries to get it through to Courtnall. He couldn't get by. And it went through Murphy, but not through Wells. And back up to Tocchet, and on to Sutter. And again, it goes back down. 2:55 to go in the third period. The pass comes to Naslund. Dribbles one on back further, and Green has to go back. In the regular season, these two teams were separated by 35 points. Here's Corson moving in. Checked off by Samuelson. Down he goes on the play. It is Howe lofting one along, and it skips back out, and Robinson is there to get it. Canadians have not lost a home game in the playoffs here, and Roy has not lost since April of last year. Chelios to Corson, and a rising shot went off the glass. Moving in is Robinson, had it checked away by Mellenby. Still the puck kicked along. Mellenby just won't stop and is able to muscle it back out to center ice. And now Corson throwing a punch in the direction of Terry Karkner, who was at the bench area.
Shane Corson on this shift was like a man possessed. He was throwing his weight around in the Flyer zone. He went down once to try to draw a penalty. And when he got up, he kind of hurdled Shell Samuelson on the way into the corner. Finally ended up tracking down the puck right in front of Terry Karkner at the Flyers bench. That's right, Pat. There's not that much time left. 2:19 to go. And Paul Holmgren has 2 minutes and 19 seconds to go to accomplish something that the Flyers had to do, and that was come into this building and at least split.
Brian Skrudlin comes over to get a very quick word from Pat Burns. Passes it along to Richer. Richer will be to Skrudlin's right. On the left, it'll be McPhee, Robinson, and Chelios to work the defense. Eklund and Kerr and Secord for the Flyers. Terry Karkner and Jeff Chikrin in back. Off the face-off, it's Secord trying to get it ahead. Taken down by Richer, and the puck came back on to Skrudlin. Then the tap comes to Robinson, and around to Chelios. Ahead with it comes Richer. Watched by Karkner, surrounded by orange and black. Robinson tried to bring it on, but we get a halt to play. And an offside has been called to stop the clock with 2:04 to go in the third.
You know what, this unit that the Montreal Canadiens have out here, they have Mike McPhee, they have Brian Skrudlin. These guys aren't finesse guys. They're good hockey players, but they're not finesse guys. That time Larry Robinson, instead of dumping it in, letting his grinders go and get it, tried to make a finesse play at the blue line. The Flyers bogged them down. They got an offside. That's what I've been talking about. Montreal really not making good decisions at the Flyers blue line tonight.
Jeff Chikrin taps it back in deep, and Robinson goes to get it. And we're down to the last minute and 55 seconds of the third period. The pass comes back onto McPhee. Tried for Robinson, but it went down. Jeff Chikrin goes back to get it. Skrudlin peering at him from out in front as the pass went off of Kerr. Skrudlin finesses to McPhee. Centered one, and that went off Richer. Skrudlin right back to get it. Dumps one off for Richer. Given a check by Eklund. Quick centering pass off Chikrin. Brought back up by Al Secord. It's a 2-on-1 with Kerr. Chelios is back on defense as Secord swoops in. Hands for Kerr. Has to play it off the boards and then has it taken away by Robinson. Back up Chelios with 1:20 to go in the third. Chris Chelios surrounded, able to poke it back in deep, and Ken Reggett out to stop it. Hands back over to Samuelson. Shell Samuelson's pass goes all the way back to Svoboda. It is Chelios stepping away from Sinisalo. Checked down by Sinisalo, but it's nudged along to Svoboda, and the net is empty. 6 attackers now for the Canadiens. Puck to Howe. Flip one that is deflected right back to Svoboda. Peter Svoboda turning down to the last 50 seconds of regulation time right now. Svoboda drills one around the boards. Reggett to knock it down. Reggett right there, tried to sweep. Nearly handcuffed Sutter. Right back into the pile of Samuelson and Smith and Naslund. Corson is there too. And everyone looking, and Kerry Fraser can still see it. Now blows the play dead and signals a face-off will come to the left of Ken Reggett. The puck measures 1 inch by 3. That rectangle is 4 feet by 6. But it's been pretty hard for the Canadiens to get one into that rectangle the way it's been guarded tonight by Ken Reggett. Montreal still with 25 shots in the game as Pat Burns looks on. All of his best are out there for this final 38 seconds. He'll keep Corson there. He has Courtnall, Walter, Bobby Smith, Richer, and Naslund. Now Svoboda is drifting over, and he is the one who will come off. So the first 6 players we gave you are the right 6. Tocchet and Poulin. Ron Sutter. Ken Reggett having an equipment problem, and Shell Samuelson over to take care of it. Might have been a scrap at the back of one of his pads. We mentioned Samuelson, and the other Flyers defenseman is Mark Howe. Canadiens have got to strike twice in 38 seconds, or will have suffered an opening night upset here. Flyers in this series, as they were in the Washington series, come in underdogs. Ron Sutter to take the draw with Walter. Walter has Courtnall right behind him. Sutter has his stick, tapping it so quickly on the ice, and Walter will put his down as the home team is to do it second. Then off the draw, kicked by Howe along to Shell Samuelson. Samuelson dumps one over the glass, and again a face-off will result in Flyers territory. It is only of historical note, and of course history can be wiped out very quickly, especially when a whole generation has passed. But if you consider the two series played in the 70s, plus the one in 1987, the Flyers are 4 for 4 in the playoffs at the Forum. They are 1 for 6 back at the Spectrum. They're trying to make it 5 to 4 here. As you saw, some of the fans have left early. Walter and Ron Sutter prepared to go again. And again a false start. Flyers have had as solid a 3 periods as they did the final 3 of Game 7 in Pittsburgh and Game 6 at the Spectrum and the last period of Game 5 in Pittsburgh. They have kept it consistently going. Richer flips. That one goes wide. Howe had preoccupied Smith. Turnaround play, and that went across the goal mouth wide. And Tocchet fires it. Courtnall stops it with 15 seconds to go. Along now to Richer. Feeds it back up for Courtnall. Tries to get through his shot, snuffed out by Samuelson. Trying to knock it out is Poulin. Smith flips one in front. Knocked down by Howe. Turning with it is Courtnall. Knocked down by Tocchet. And the Flyers are going to win this one. The opening game has gone to Philadelphia by a score of 3-1. Ken Reggett, who was just a backup goaltender 4 days ago. In a little ceremony this morning, Ken Reggett's 2-pass jersey was retired. 2-pass is the game that the backup goaltender plays in the morning with the players who are going to be scratched that night. And with Reggett's performance on Saturday, and also the notion that he'll have to play for a little while now for the Flyers, they hung up his old black practice jersey with a 35 on it down in the locker room, and he is being hugged by his Flyers teammates here, having emerged exhausted but victorious for the second outing in a row. The final score in the game, the Flyers 3, the Canadiens 1. Now back to our studios.